Hello everyone, so now I'll be going through the syllabus for elementary mathematics, okay, for the GCE O-level examinations. Okay, the syllabus number will be 4048. Okay, just a brief comment about this new syllabus that was implemented in 2016. Okay, one has to take note that it has actually become more difficult, okay, to actually score well in elementary mathematics. Slightly more difficult, okay. The reason is mainly because the focus is now less on the technicality of solving mathematical problems, but it is more on the application of mathematical knowledge to real life problems. Alright, so there will be a lot more questions that are less routine, okay, and it is more difficult for students and teachers alike to be able to spot the types of questions that are going to be tested in the O levels. Alright, but at the same time, even though it's more difficult, okay, students will find that what they learn in under the elementary mathematics syllabus, okay, will be a lot more useful in real life, and they'll be able to develop stronger interest because it is a lot more relevant to their daily life and their daily routine. So the examination format is such that it comprises of two papers. Okay, paper 1, which is short answer questions. Okay, 25 compulsory short answer questions. Okay, are to be completed in 2 hours. Total marks will be 80, but it takes up 50% of the paper. Okay, paper 2, 2.5 hours. Okay, comprises of 10 to 11 compulsory questions of varying marks and length. So usually the questions in paper 2 will be longer. Okay, so there will be lesser questions, but there will be each question will have many sections to it, and they will carry more marks. And more importantly, okay, there is this new question, okay, that has only been implemented since 2016. Right, this new type of question actually is a real world context question. Okay, whereby it focuses on how you actually apply the mathematics into a real life problem. And this question usually takes up about 10 marks. Okay, so the total marks for paper 2 is 100 marks, but it takes up an equal weightage as paper 1, okay, 50%. So one main difference between paper 1 and paper 2 now is that paper 1 no longer tests solely on fundamentals and paper 2 solely on higher order thinking, right? What this means is that as of 2018, okay, both papers 1 and 2 can test on higher order thinking, right? So the questions in paper 1 are not necessarily easier to solve, okay, as compared to paper 2. They can be equally difficult. So the real world context question in paper 2, which is the last question, okay, is not just limited to financial arithmetic, but can include a vast array of real life problems, right? So it's not just related to, for example, calculation of interest rates, conversion of currency, and so on, but it can include like a vast array of common problems that you will encounter in real life, such as I've encountered one whereby I think this came out in you can actually see this question in the 10-year series, right? Actually came out for the O levels, which is basically it gives you a situation whereby you're running a printing business, kind of, and you are supposed to make calculations with regards to the cost of setting up the business, and in the end draw a conclusion as to whether how you actually go about running the business and purchasing stocks and so on. So one must also note that such real world context questions can also be tested within the other topics, right? So it's not just restricted to the last question, but such styles of questions can also appear, okay, okay, very commonly in numbers and algebra, which is usually related to the financial arithmetics, and in topics like geometry, for example, whereby they will give you a plan drawing, 3D drawing with coordinates, and they will ask you to make calculations, right, based on those drawings. So under statistics, okay, statistics is one of the topics that you will be learning. Okay, a new segment has been introduced whereby students must explain why a given statistical diagram can result in misinterpretation, right? So this is a new style of question whereby instead of just asking you to interpret and to read off data from the statistical diagram, okay, students will be asked to analyze the statistical diagram and explain why it is misleading, right? So for example, it could be the title is misleading, or the axis, for example, is incorrectly labeled, right? That will lead to readers reading the statistical diagram to actually come to wrong conclusions regarding what it is supposed to represent. So construction is no longer tested, right? That means you do not have to actually draw those diagrams or charts, and the focus is now more on interpretation and comparison of data. So yeah, and a list of relevant mathematical formula will be provided, okay, and the a lot of times in any single question, okay, several topics may actually be tested within that particular within the same question, okay. So there may be one particular question, okay, that has several topics tested within it. And a proof calculator may be used, okay. So subsequently in the next few lessons, I'll be showing you the proof calculator and how you're going to actually use a lot of the functions within it. And students will also need to have their own geometrical instruments, which can include like the compass, for example, okay, which is important in the geometry topic, whereby you have to actually construct certain diagrams. So other technical pointers will include in the workings you should use up to 4 significant figures so that in the final answers you can actually round them down correctly and accurately to 3 significant figures. For angles, degree angles, you round them to 1 decimal place. And for calculator readings, okay, you will use the if there is pi that is the symbol pi is being used in the question or that's being given and you have to use it in your calculations, okay. There's actually a function in the calculator that represents the pi value, okay, the exact actual pi value, and you should always use that. Otherwise, you should always use 3.142 as a value of pi. And the SI units will be used in questions involving measurement. So when they actually sort of give you a certain number, okay, in the final answer you have to actually put in the SI units. And that's about it, okay. Thank you for listening.